Never defend yourself? Listen closely, because this will flip the way you see yourself forever. The biggest trap people fall into is defending themselves. Someone throws shade, questions your character, twists your words, and you jump into defense mode like it's your job to prove who you are. But let me tell you, when you defend yourself, you hand them power. You tell them, your opinion of me matters more than my truth. And that right there is the biggest mistake. People who know who they are don't explain, they don't argue, they don't justify, they stand strong, unshaken. Because silence, confidence, and calm presence, those are louder than 1,000 defenses. You don't need to convince anyone when your actions speak louder than their words. There's one thing you must remember. Those who want to misunderstand you will keep doing it. Even if you explain yourself 1,000 times, they will only see what their mind has already decided. Your truth does not need their approval. Real strength is to stay silent, stay calm, and let your actions speak for you. Never sell your truth with words. Turn your silence into power. Because when you stop defending yourself, you win. Remember this. Those who don't want to understand you will never understand, no matter how many times you explain. And those who truly know you don't need an explanation at all. Your silence is your answer. Your confidence is your voice, and your peace is the greatest proof. Real strength is to smile, stay silent, and say within yourself, I am who I am. Whether you accept it or not, that's your problem, not mine. When you stop defending yourself, you become free. Your decisions are yours, your worth is in your hands, and your dignity echoes in your silence. When someone throws accusations your way, your first instinct is to defend. You feel that surge of heat in your chest, that urge to set the record straight, to correct the lie, to prove you're not who they say you are. That urge feels natural, but it's a truth. The moment you start defending yourself, you've already stepped onto their battlefield, and that's where you lose. Because defending isn't strength, defending isn't clarity, defending is insecurity in disguise. Think about it. When you explain yourself over and over, what are you really saying? You're saying, I need you to believe me. I need your approval. I need your validation to feel okay about myself. That's not power. That's weakness, dressed up as logic. And the more you chase after people's approval, the more you hand them control over your emotions. You become a puppet, pulled by strings of their opinion. The harder you defend, the more you look like you've got something to hide. Even if you're innocent, over-explaining makes you sound guilty. The truth is, secure people don't defend, they don't explain. They don't beg anyone to understand. They know who they are. They let their actions and their character do the talking. And when you know who you are, you realize defending yourself is unnecessary. You can stand there, silent, calm, unbothered, and let the noise die on its own. Silence isn't weakness, it's the loudest sign of confidence. But here's the deeper shift. Stop trying to protect your ego. That's what defending really is, ego in panic mode. Your ego screams, don't let them think that about you. Fix it, correct it, make sure everyone knows the truth. But peace doesn't come from protecting your ego. Peace comes from protecting your energy, your mind, your heart. You can't be free if every opinion drags you into a fight. You can't be strong if every rumor forces you to explain. Your ego wants you to win arguments. Your peace wants you to rise above them. Which one are you choosing? When you defend your ego, you burn out. You drain yourself, trying to convince people who don't want to be convinced. That's wasted energy. That's a battle with no finish line. But when you protect your peace, you save your power for what actually matters. You keep your calm, you keep your focus, you keep your dignity, and that's how you win without ever throwing a punch. People may talk, they may accuse, they may twist your story. Let them. That says everything about them and nothing about you. Their words are their mirror, not your truth. Don't hand over your serenity to someone who's already at war with themselves. Don't let their chaos drag you into explaining, defending, or proof. Let your silence be your boundary and your calm be your proof. That's real control. The strongest people are not the ones with the best arguments. They're the ones who don't need to argue at all. They're the ones who know that not every lie deserves a response, not every accusation deserves a defense, and not every opinion deserves your energy. That's not arrogance, it's wisdom. It's choosing peace over ego. So the next time someone tries to provoke you, remember this. The more you defend yourself, the smaller you look. The less you defend yourself, the stronger you stand. Protect your peace, not your pride. Protect your energy, not your ego. Because at the end of the day, People's opinions fade, rumors dissolve, lies die, but your peace, that stays with you. And once you learn to guard that, no one can take it from you. When someone throws stones at your name, when they spit lies, when they poke at your character, your pride will scream, say something. Defend yourself, don't let them get away with it. But desperate words, they don't protect you, they strip you. The more you talk, the smaller you look. The more you argue, the more you hand them your dignity. And dignity, once given away, is hard to get back. Silence is the move. Silence is the strategy. Silence is the crown that never falls. Because silence doesn't beg. Silence doesn't chase. Silence doesn't fight battles beneath it. Silence says, I know who I am, and I don't need to shout it in your face. That is strength. That is presence. That is unshakable power. When you stay silent, you deny them oxygen. They expect a fight. They expect you to panic, to sweat, to scramble for proof. But when you give them nothing, they choke on their own noise. They swing at the air, they waste their energy, while you stand still, untouched, unmoved. That is the art of protecting your dignity, by refusing to hand it over in the first place. Words can be twisted, words can be weaponized, words can be turned against you. But silence? Silence cannot be bent, cannot be broken, cannot be taken out of context. It's the one thing no one can use against you. And the beauty of it is this: while you stay silent, your life, your character, your actions speak louder than any defense you could ever craft. Let's get this straight. Desperate words come from ego. They come from fear. They come from the belief that you need to be understood right now, that you need everyone to see your side. But real strength doesn't need that. Real strength says, believe what you want. My truth doesn't need your approval. That's not arrogance. That's freedom. That's self-respect. Silence makes people uncomfortable because it leaves them alone with their own words. While you stand calm, they replay their attack over and over, asking themselves, did I go too far? Did I lose control? Why didn't they react? That silence puts the weight back on them, while you protect your peace and keep your dignity intact. This doesn't mean silence is weakness. Weakness is folding under pressure. Weakness is letting people walk all over you. Silence is different. Silence is restraint. Silence is controlled fire. It's not that you can't speak, it's that you refuse to waste your words where they don't matter. That's not weakness, that's wisdom. The more you fight to be believed, the more you tell the world you need belief to feel secure. But the less you say, the more secure you live. Silence shows you're not desperate for validation. Silence shows you already know who you are. Silence shows power. So protect your dignity. Don't trade it for a few moments of desperate words. Don't waste it trying to win a small fight when your silence wins the war. The loudest voice in the room isn't the one yelling, it's the one calm enough to stay quiet and let everything else collapse on its own. When somebody attacks you, when they accuse you of something you didn't do, when they twist your words into a version of the story that makes you look like the villain, the temptation is almost unbearable. You want to jump in and defend. You want to explain, correct, and justify. You want to lay out all the facts until they finally see the truth. But here's the brutal reality. The moment you start defending, you've already given them exactly what they wanted. Defending doesn't shut down the accuser. It feeds them. It gives them oxygen. It keeps their fire alive. Accusers thrive on reaction. That's their fuel. They poke because they want you to flinch. They throw mud because they want you to clean it off in front of them. They accuse because they know the instinct inside you is to fight for your reputation. But every time you respond, you're stepping into their game. And once you're in their game, you play by their rules. You can't win a fight that was designed for you to lose. Think about it. When you defend yourself, what happens? They don't suddenly say, oh, thank you for explaining, now I see the truth. No, they twist it more. They argue harder. They take your words, break them apart, and spin them back against you. And now you're stuck, caught in a cycle of explaining, proving, defending, while they sit back and feed on your energy. You're giving them what they came for: your attention, your focus, your power. The strongest move is not to defend. The strongest move is to starve the accuser. You cut off their food supply when you refuse to give them what they want. You protect your peace by stepping out of their arena. You don't fight battles on their turf because that's how you lose your dignity. Instead, you protect your energy, your calm, your clarity. That's how you win, by refusing to play. Defending feels good in the moment, but it costs you everything. It costs you your time, your mental space, your emotional balance. It costs you your peace, and peace is worth more than your ego. That's the choice every time. Protect your ego or protect your peace. Ego will drag you into endless arguments, trying to prove yourself right, trying to make everyone understand. Peace will tell you let it go. You don't owe them anything. You don't need to win this argument to stand in your truth. The truth doesn't need a lawyer, the truth doesn't need a defense. It stands on its own, and when you know you're standing in truth, you don't need to waste words convincing anyone. Your silence, your calm, your consistency, they say more than any defense ever could. Here's what makes it powerful. When you don't defend, you flip the spotlight. Instead of you scrambling to prove, the accuser is left exposed. They're standing there alone with their accusations, repeating themselves, looking desperate while you stand silent and steady. That silence makes people question them, not you. It shifts the weight of proof back on their shoulders, where it belongs. But the moment you start defending, you take that weight onto yourself. You accept the role of the accused, and now the burden is yours. And once you're in that position, no amount of defense will ever be enough. Because they're not looking for truth, they're looking for control, and you just gave it to them. Protect your peace, not your ego. That means being okay with not answering every lie. It means being okay with people misunderstanding you. It means letting your character speak while your ego stays quiet. Ego screams, fight back, but peace whispers, stand still. Ego wants to win arguments. Peace wants to win freedom. And the truth is, peace wins every time. This is where real strength shows. Anyone can argue, anyone can shout, anyone can scramble to be believed, but it takes power to stay calm. It takes control to refuse to feed the fire. It takes wisdom to realize, not every attack deserves your answer. And when you learn that, you step into a whole new level of strength. You don't need to fight for your reputation. You live it. You don't need to prove your truth. You walk in. You don't need to feed the accuser. You starve them. And when you starve them, their words lose weight, their fire burns out, and their power collapses, all without you saying a single word. So the next time you're under attack, stop and remember, defending only feeds them. Defending drains you. Defending is ego trying to save face. But silence, restraint, calm, that's where your real power lives. Protect your peace, protect your dignity, protect your energy, because peace is priceless, and no accuser is worth you giving it up. Walk away from the trap of defense. Don't hand over your power just because someone threw words at you. You are not required to prove yourself to anyone. You don't owe explanations to people who twist them. Your truth stands whether they believe it or not. That's freedom. That's control. That's strength. When people question you, when they spread lies, when they twist your name into something dirty, the impulse is to fight back with words, to defend, to explain, to set the record straight. But here's the truth that most people don't realize. Your words are not your greatest defense. Your character is, your actions are, and those two things speak louder than any defense you could ever give. Think about it. When someone accuses you of something you didn't do, you can argue, you can explain, you can give them 10 reasons why they're wrong. But what happens after the words? People will still look at your life. They'll still measure what you consistently show through your behavior. Actions cannot be faked for long. Words can. Anyone can say the right thing in the heat of the moment, but only actions reveal who someone really is over time. That's why defending yourself with words is a waste of breath. The people who matter, the people who truly know you, aren't listening to what you say in one heated exchange. They're watching what you do every single day. They're watching how you carry yourself when no one's clapping for you. They're watching how you treat people who can't give you anything in return. They're watching if your life lines up with your talk. And when your character is consistent, you don't need a speech. Your life is the speech. When you live with integrity, your character becomes your shield. You don't have to beg people to believe you. You don't have to jump into every rumor to clear your name, because the people who know you know you. They've seen your track record. They've seen your action. And even the ones who don't know you. Over time, your actions will reveal the truth to them too. Time always uncovers who's real. Time always exposes who's lying. And here's the powerful thing. When you stay focused on your actions instead of your defense, you rise above the drama. While your accuser is busy talking, spinning stories, trying to drag you into their chaos, you're busy living. You're busy building. You're busy showing up with consistency, with strength, with results. And sooner or later, the noise fades and the truth shines through, because actions always outlast words. Words are temporary. Actions are permanent. A defense lasts for a moment, but character speaks for a lifetime. That's why the greatest proof of who you are isn't what you say when you're under attack. It's what you keep doing when no one is watching. It's the way you keep showing up even when it would be easier to quit. It's the way you keep standing tall even when people try to knock you down. That's the testimony that can't be faked. That's the evidence no one can twist. Your accusers want to trap you in a cycle of talking. They want you to fight word against word, story against story. But when you refuse to play that game, When you let your actions be your answer, you're untouchable. Because you can argue with words, but you can't argue with proof. You can't argue with a track record of consistency. You can't argue with a life lived in integrity. Your character is the voice that never goes quiet. It speaks in rooms you've never entered. It speaks long after the conversation ends. It speaks to people who will never meet you but will hear of how you carried yourself. That's why protecting your character is more important than protecting your ego. Ego wants to win arguments. Character wants to win respect. And respect doesn't come from defending yourself. It comes from proving yourself day after day, through actions that align with your values. And here's what makes it even more powerful. Actions don't just defend you, they inspire others. When you refuse to fight with words and instead live in a way that reflects strength, dignity, and truth, people notice. Even those who don't like you are forced to admit your consistency. Even those who try to discredit you can't erase the evidence of your character. So stop wasting energy defending yourself with desperate explanations. Put that energy into living the life that makes your defense unnecessary. Focus on showing up in excellence. Focus on walking in integrity. Focus on being unshakably consistent in how you treat people, in how you handle pressure, in how you respond to adversity. That speaks louder than any defense you'll ever give. The world doesn't remember what you said, it remembers what you did. It remembers how you carried yourself when life hit hard. It remembers whether you folded or whether you stood firm. And that memory, that reputation, that legacy, that is your defense. Your actions will always be louder than your defense. Your character will always be louder than your word. And when you embrace that truth, you'll stop wasting time on arguments you can't win and start living a life that no one can deny. Let your accusers talk, let them spin, let them throw dirt. You don't have to defend yourself because your life is already doing it for you. It's simple. Defenses fade, words get forgotten, but character, actions, they echo long after the noise is gone. And when you focus on living with that kind of consistency, you don't just protect your peace, you build a legacy that no lie can destroy. Freedom doesn't come the moment people stop talking about you. Freedom doesn't come when every rumor dies or when every critic finally shuts up. Freedom comes the moment you decide to stop defending yourself. Because defending is a prison. It keeps you chained to the opinions of people who don't matter. It ties your value to their approval, and it makes you a servant to their judgment. But the day you stop defending, you break those chains. You become free. When you stop defending yourself, you're no longer controlled by outside voices. You're not living your life trying to prove something to people who will never be satisfied. You stop explaining, you stop begging to be understood, and you stop chasing after validation. That's the first step to freedom, understanding that your decisions belong to you, not to them. And your worth, that's not up for debate. It's not theirs to measure. It's in your hands. The constant need to defend comes from fear. Fear of being misunderstood. Fear of rejection. Fear that people might believe the lies. But here's the truth, they're going to believe what they want anyway. Defending doesn't change that. People who want to misunderstand you will always find a reason to twist your words. Defending yourself is like pouring water into a bottomless pit. You never fill it, you just keep exhausting yourself. But when you step back and say, I don't owe anyone my defense, that's when you reclaim your power. Freedom means you're no longer playing by their rule. You're not reacting to every jab, you're not explaining every move, you're not giving energy to people who wouldn't believe you even if you gave them the whole truth in writing. Instead, you choose peace, you choose focus, you choose to live in a way that speaks for itself. And here's the powerful thing, when you stop defending, people start noticing. They see your calm, they see your confidence, and they realize you don't need their approval to breathe. That makes you untouchable. When your decisions are yours, life changes. You stop asking, what will they think if I do this? And start asking, is this right for me? Is this aligned with my values? Does this honor my peace? That shift is everything. Because for the first time, you're not living for their applause. You're not living to avoid their criticism. You're living in alignment with who you really are. And nothing feels more liberating than that. Your worth is not a community vote. It's not up for negotiation. It's not something you have to defend in court. Your worth is inherent, it's built in, it's yours, untouched by their opinion. And when you understand that, you stop bending to every critic. You stop shrinking yourself to fit their version of you. You stop defending because you know you don't need to. You stand tall in your truth even if no one claps for it. Defending yourself is a form of begging. You're essentially saying, please believe me, please see me, please validate me. And begging strips you of your power. But refusing to defend says believe what you want. I don't need your validation. That's strength, that's dignity, that's freedom. And freedom isn't just peace of mind, it's energy. Every time you defend, you drain yourself. You burn hours, days, sometimes years, trying to fight for approval that never comes. But when you stop defending, you reclaim that energy. You redirect it into building your life, growing yourself, chasing your vision. Instead of feeding the critics, you feed your future. And that's where transformation happens. Critics don't stop talking when you stop defending. But here's the secret, their words lose weight. They become background noise because you're not feeding them anymore. You realize their opinions only had power because you kept giving them attention. The moment you stop, their power dissolves. Their voice fades, and your peace gets loud. When you stop defending yourself, you walk differently. You move with a calm confidence. You stop reacting to every stone thrown your way, and you start walking your own path regardless of the noise. People notice. They may not say it out loud, but they feel it. This person isn't controlled by outside voices anymore. This person is free. That freedom doesn't just change you. It impacts everyone around you. When you refuse to defend, you teach others that they don't have to either. You set the example that peace is more valuable than ego, that silence is more powerful than arguments, that dignity is louder than desperation. And slowly you create a ripple effect of strength. So understand this, the day you stop defending is the day you step into freedom. Your decisions become yours, not borrowed from someone else's opinion. Your worth stays in your hands, not tossed around in someone else's judgment. You live with clarity, peace, and strength that no critic can touch. You don't need to defend yourself to be valuable. You don't need to defend yourself to be right. You don't need to defend yourself to be free. You already are, and the moment you realize that, the game changes forever. When you stop defending, you become untouchable. When you stop defending, you become free. And when you stop defending, your life finally belongs to you. Every single time you rush to defend yourself, you shrink. You hand over your peace, your strength, your dignity, piece by piece, to people who never earned the right to hold. That's why you had to learn defending shows insecurity. When you explain yourself to death, you're saying your opinion controls me. But silence says I'm already enough. That's the shift. Silence is not weakness. It's not avoidance. It's strategy. It protects your dignity when desperate words would strip it away. It shields you from the trap of their game. Because defending only feeds the accuser. They live off your reaction, but when you cut off the supply, they starve. And while they're gasping for your attention, you stand untouchable, calm, powerful. And here's the truth, you don't need words to clear your name. Your character speaks louder than defense. Your actions shout louder than explanations ever could. A track record of consistency is the greatest proof, and no rumor can outlast it. People may argue with your words, but they cannot argue with your life. Then comes the real breakthrough. When you finally stop defending, you set yourself free. You break the chains of opinion. You stop living for approval. Your decisions are yours, not borrowed from their judgment. Your worth is in your hands, not hanging in theirs. And that freedom, that's where real strength lives. So here's the conclusion. Defending is noise, but you are silence. Defending is ego, but you are peace. Defending is weakness, but you are character. Stop wasting your breath. Stop feeding the accusers. Stop begging for validation. Stand tall. Stay calm. Let your silence roar. Let your actions testify, and let your freedom prove that no one owns you. You don't need to defend yourself. You never did. Because the moment you stopped, you already won.